What's up, world? What's up, YouTube? So, today I just wanted to talk about this new book I was given last night by one of my friends and somewhat of a mentor in the industry. And we were talking about automotive diagnostics, and I was telling him how uh, I wanted to progress and really thrive in this field because I feel like it is the key for future of automotive technician. Ultimately, cars are getting more sophisticated, and ultimately, getting up in age. I'm 40 years old now. Um, you don't want to, well, at least I don't want to continue turning wrenches in my older age. I would like to do something a little more light on the body, a little more kind on the joints and whatnot. So, and I've been blessed with a fairly good head, right? And I'm a fast learner. So, one thing I have a problem with is actually reading. That is really just been a struggle all my life, as far as I can remember, even when I was a kid. Only time I really read because I had to, or to compete with my brother because he was getting all the love because he was such a good reader. But as far as I was concerned, it was very difficult for me to read anything for any long periods of time and still be interested in it. I'm more of an interactive guy, and uh, that's how I learn usually. So, but anyways, to get back to the topic, as we were talking, because so far whatever I've learned from doing automotive repairs or whatnot, this is something that I've just picked up myself. I've never really sat in a class or of any sort for that matter. And I actually took the Mercedes test and I passed it, and I was chosen to go through the training at UTI to become a tech at Mercedes Benz. But unfortunately, being that I used to drive a taxi cab in New York City, my license wasn't the best. I already have points, and because of it, Mercedes didn't take me because I had previous uh, moving violations, and their insurance is not going to deal with that. Anybody who live in New York City, who's lived in New York City, whoever driven taxis or whatnot in New York City, the amount of cops. And at nighttime, it says about 40 to 50% of traffic is nothing but just public, meaning like cabs and limousines. So you try to imagine, and most of the money, the revenues are from things like that. Parking tickets and moving violation tickets and things of that nature in New York City. So, but anyway, yeah. And most of it, I would say 90% that what I've learned about cars in general from YouTube, honestly. Um, I start, uh, I picked up my first uh, socket set about 2015, I believe. I didn't know anything about cars before that. My brother he's a mechanic in Michigan, and you tell me, oh, why don't you do your own, oil changing, and you do your own brakes and whatnot. I'm like, no, I don't want to get dirty. That's not my thing. And I'm not even interested. And I wasn't interested. But one day, the man that I used to rent a cab from, and he used to have a garage also. When I stopped driving for him and I bought my own car, and I brought it in because I had a check engine light when I bought that car. It was a beater. Somebody gave it to me for really cheap. One friend of mine. So anyway, he had to replace an O2 sensor, which wasn't the correct diagnosing anyway. I mean, now looking back, of course, because these guys is, they just regular mechanics. They don't know much about anything else, honestly. Now, but this is something I didn't know back then. So, and I felt like he really overcharged me, and it kind of hurt my feelings because I'm like, but I know these guys. Why would he do that to me? Like, I used to rent from him, So, but I realize that's the name of the game now. So because of that, I went and told my wife, we were talking about it, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to try to learn about these things because I'm tired of like people ripping me off or whatever. So it was never something that I wanted to do as a means of livelihood or whatnot. It was just for my own repairs, being able to whatever. Because I was like, well, if they can do it, I could do it. I was really it's always been my attitude. If they can do it, I can do it. So anyway, I went and picked up my first Craftsman kit, and I think I started to do brakes. Looked on YouTube, and I would literally watch a video about brakes, all videos about brakes if they had it on this particular vehicle I was working on, like my car or my wife's car. Man, I worked whatever I could, and I would take a whole week. So when I got to actually doing a job, I had so many different tips from so many different mechanics and technicians, but I was really on point. So I started doing that, and it became fun because naturally I was always wanting to work with my hands since I was a kid. I remember very young, about 9, 8 years old. My father, used to work with us, like teaching how to do, brakes on our bikes, how to fix our flats and everything else on our bikes. And sometimes when I want to fix a flat, this is back in my hometown. This is back in the continent. When I will go to the tire place or whatever, I will just ask the guy to show me his tricks, and I will, I've always been a hands-on guy. Like I like the interaction. Even when they had construction in my house, I'm always with the people and watching what they're doing, how they're doing it. I was always that guy. So I like to work with my hands, and I like the outdoorsy work, so to speak. So yeah, I enjoyed it. I'm like, wow, this is fun. So my wife used to have her, regular mechanic up to this point because I'm very new to this thing. I'm doing all these, just basic things, and but I'm learning fast, and I'm moving up. And she was having issues with her car. She took it to the guy, and she came back. She's like, I'm not still making the same thing. I'm like, you know what? Let me check it out. I'll try. Eventually, she was having some type of misfire and everything else. Man, I replaced her spark plugs and ignition. This was on a V6. What is it again? Ford Escape. I mean, this is what when I first started. I mean, it looked like a huge project for me, but thank God I did it. And she was so amazed that the car was running fine. She's like, "Yo, babe, you should do this for a living. Like, you know how long I've been taking my car to this guy? Man, you just fixed it and it's fixed." I'm like, wow. But I didn't believe in myself yet because, and I still don't believe in myself to this day. Meaning, what I mean is, I am not the guy who is comfortable with fumbling. Like I don't like to know half truth about anything. If I'm into something, I want to know 100%. Like I need that for stability, even mental stability when I'm in the. And I feel like with cars, unless you work for a dealership where you only work on a certain brand of cars over time, it is very difficult to round up, all that you need to know about all these different cars that are thrown at you all the time. So it makes it a lot more difficult. I mean, yes, granted, they all have the basics in common, whatnot. That's true, but there are a lot of different areas and intricacies in cars that require a huge amount of experience, with working on different cars, and to be able to definitely call yourself a somebody who's an expert on cars in general. And I'm very new in the business, like I said, 2015, and I wasn't even working on cars as something to do as a living, honestly, until I came to Texas. I mean, in New York, I did here and there, but nothing serious. Then I came out here, and I started working regular jobs, and until actually the Mercedes gig, and I was working there delivering parts, and one of the tech guys inside of there, a master tech actually, and I would meet him in the cafeteria. We would talk, and he would gauge my perspective on things, and we were talking. He was like, I mean, you really look like somebody I could use, because he's basically from his own mouth. He's like, I'm working with knuckleheads in there, I mean, why don't you just try to apply as a tech or whatever, and I'll put in a word for you, and you can work. Yeah. I said, really? He said, yeah, if you're interested. I'm like, all right. I mean, granted, they are paying like 15, $16 an hour to start. It was that, whatever. But I was like, well, for the benefits and just working at Mercedes, I mean, that experience, I can open up my own shop and just specialize in that later on. So I tried it. I went online. I took the test. Like I said, I aced the test. The recruiter called me many times. We had long conversations, and he was like, based pretty much like, "How did you got? Did you go to college? Did you go?" I'm like, "Nope." Everything I learned on my own. And that's what it is. So I was like, "Wow, okay. Well, just know that your seat is already secure. You guaranteed your seat, and the class is going to begin in December." This was 2 years ago. So okay, great. So I say all we have to do now is go ahead and you know do the paperwork situation. And one of the key things was the your license. We have to run to check your license and see if it's good or not. And that's when they dropped me, when they found out I had this moving violation when I was in New York. So long story short, I was kind of heartbroken by the whole situation. Part of my route deliveries, I used to go to this other shop, which were they used to specialize in European cars. And actually, the head tech in that shop used to work for the same dealership that I was working for. So same thing when I went to deliver parts. He used to always have all kinds of engine laying out there, doing just big projects all the time. And I admire this guy. I'm like, wow, this guy is awesome. But and I didn't want to bother him too much. Of course, I'll talk to him quickly. But he saw that I was very interested in things like that. So when I came to him and I told him, you know what, they didn't pick me because of X, Y, and Z. He was, oh wow, that's crazy. Okay, well listen, I will talk to the boss here and see what happens. Maybe we can get you to come on board with us, and you can be my helper. I said, oh man, that'd be great. Okay. Long story short, some weeks can't pass by, and out of the blue, because his shop was two guys that partnered up and opened up the shop, an older guy and a young guy. The young guy didn't have no problem with me. He was like, whatever you want to do, fine. The older guy was the problem. That guy, I mean, he wanted somebody who came in with experience and whatnot and this and that. And he was very kind of like by the book type of guy, old school guy. And I understand. I'm not mad at him from a business standpoint. So anyway, one day he called me out the blue. I'm in the head tech and said, you know what, you come. I talked to the younger guy because the older guy is on vacation. You come in. So I went there, and honestly, it was a really, really horrible experience for me. I mean, I'm still hurt to this day by that experience because I was so hopeful, because this was like a rebound from that Mercedes deception. I mean, deception, I meaning heartbreak. And the guy, the head tech, he was very cool when I used to come deliver parts. When I actually came to work with him, I mean, he was a very, very tough man to deal with. I mean, really, I don't want to use profanities, but he was that kind of guy, really a-hole. The first red flag when I came in there were three mechanics. He was one of them, one of three, and he was not talking to the other two. Mind you, the other two were talking and interacting, but nobody will talk to him. It was already a red flag for me. I was like, whoa, okay. Then I started working with him. He was very methodical and everything else. But of course, I'm not an idiot. So even as a rookie, and I consider myself that to this day. I mean, I've done most jobs on engine or whatnot, in my short span of working on cars. But I still consider myself a rookie. But anyway, at the time, cars will come and I will give my opinion, and they actually ended up being right. And I felt like he didn't kind of like that, you know. And he will try to just make you do things without thinking, like, because he said to do something. I'm like, this is not how I work. I'm like 38 years old, man. I'm not a kid. You understand? Like, okay, we're working together. When I'm asking you a question, it's because for my own knowledge bank. This is how I work. I don't like to do things blindly. Like I said, going back to that, character of mine. I don't like to just, no, I like to know, no, not pretend no. No. So anyway, in that, I worked actually for him for just a week, and that was it. He fired me after a week. Was it him? Was it the other owner? I don't know to this day. All I know is we were, yes, we was not on necessarily the best term in that 1 week, now mind you. And every single job he threw my way, I did. And he was like, wow, any job. I mean, this was new. I'm talking about like Mercedes-Benz cars. I never worked on them before. And these were not like, regular spark plug job or oil change. I was doing like all kinds of air pumps and AC work, replacing AC compressors, things that he was telling the manager, like, "No, I don't think he's going to be able to do this job." And meaning I overheard him saying that, and yet I took it as a challenge, and I did every single one of them. Every single one of them I did. But he was a very, very difficult guy to get along with. Had some, I guess, issues with his wife. One day I came in work. He was there since 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, "What are you doing here since 5 o'clock in the morning?" He's like, "Well, that's either that or kill my wife." I'm like, "Wow, okay, this guy got some issues, whatever he's going through." But anyway, was it a setup for them? They just wanted me for that 1 week because they had a lot of work and they needed somebody to come help out. And after the week done, they just got rid of me. I don't know to this day, honestly. All I know is I came in work the next week. They told me you didn't have a job. I said, "Wow, really?" Okay. So I was really hurt by that. And it started to create something in my mind. I'm like, I'm tired of depending on other people, really, for my livelihood. Like, I just need to muster the courage to do my own thing here. And it started brewing in my head, but I was still kind of shy away. And for that, I'm just kind of like, cold feet. So I went to another shop that somebody recommended I went to, and I went to the guy, and he told me, "What do you do?" I'm like, "I'm a mechanic." I'm not a mechanic. Well, I pretend to be a mechanic. It's like, "How many years of experience I have?" I tell him I got a couple of years of experience now working on cars. He's like, "Okay, well, we'll call you back when we need you." I'm like, "All right." So in the meantime, I'm doing here and there, working here and there. I was still doing a delivery job part time, and I was, working here and there. If I had a little gig there, I would do for extra money. Until the guy one day just called me, and it was around last winter, and it was cold. I was like, "You know what? Rather than being out here working outside in the cold, hey, I'm in the shop at least." So, but when he called me, he said, "You know what? All I wanted is an oil change person right now. I have a mechanic." I thought about it. I'm like, "Nah, that's not what I want to do." But since there was a very expensive mechanic there, I'm like, "You know what? What I'm thinking I could gain from this job, meaning as far as learning from this other guy, I think it supersedes anything else, meaning about the pay that is going to be low and whatnot. You know what? I'll take whatever he pays me right now in hopes of learning as much as I can from this other guy." And lo and behold, same scenario, this other guy was a triple A-hole. Oh my goodness. Oh my God. I mean, the boss fired him so many times and took him back because he didn't have a choice. He didn't have nobody else. I mean, this guy he has some problems. That's really what he was. So eventually, after working there for a few months, I decided, "You know what, boss, this is not for me." And I quit. And when I quit, that's when I started doing my own thing. And I started hanging out auto zones and whatnot, trying to talk to people, made my business cards, talking to random people, people that I knew, and slowly but surely, I started having this business. And I'm always glued on YouTube, and especially trying to learn whatever I could about diagnostics, because I know that's what my edge was. Because most of the mechanics didn't go to school, they didn't know how to use computers, So I'm like, I have an edge, and that I need to really, really pursue that, and that's what made it for me. And then slowly but surely, like I said, word of mouth, I'm doing the job, and it's a correct job, and people are liking me, and it's growing and growing and growing and growing and growing. To now, by the blessings of God, I would say I have steady business. I mean, if I even work because I turn down jobs, that's what it got to so far. Granted, I'm not like making tons of money, of course not. Because I don't like to put too much stress on my body. I'm not a money hungry guy in that sense. If my needs are met, that's pretty much where I stop. If I have one big job today, that's all I'm going to do. If I have two regular light jobs tomorrow, that's pretty much what I'm going to do. Like, I'm not, in it to trying to get rich. This is not it. Because to me, it's a job that's pretty taxing on the body. Like I said, I'm 40 years old, and I don't, it's not something that I wish to do for myself. My health comes first. But with all that said, this is now moving on to me, the next step, logical step, is definitely to specialize in automotive diagnostics. So anyway, I was talking to this guy. They always used to give me advice, and I used to come to him when I have issues. Hey, this wiring diagram, how should I go about it? Blah, blah, blah. I'm having this issue with this car. I'm trying to diagnose it. I did this and X, Y, and Z. And we will talk back and forth. And he's a 23-year veteran, so I know I trust his expertise on a lot of things, especially when it comes to diagnostics. So last night I was at his house. I just met him randomly again. We're talking, and I'm like, "Do you know anywhere where I can go and take diagnostic classes, in and around town?" He was like, "You know what? Don't worry about it. You don't have to do that. I have some good books. You can." I'm like, "I'm not a book person." He's like, "Bro, you're gonna have to. You don't want to have. You're gonna have to be a book person," and that's just the bottom line. Long story short, I went to his house, and this is what he gave me. That and volume number 2 right there. So uh, I think I'm going to start reading up on this today, and I'm going to force myself, and that's just how it's going to have to be. Like I said, I'm not a reader, but I'm definitely willing to give it a fair shot until I find, of course, a formal training course that's not going to cost me an arm and a leg, because UTI is $50,000 or not. I don't even have it to begin with, so that's not going to happen. So this is the next best thing for now in and around Dallas. And also, if you guys know anything in Dallas that is like affordable, I don't mind going to take classes if I have to. I don't want to go to community college because, from what I've read, you don't learn much from it. Is it true or not? I don't know. This is just what people are saying around town. That whatever, you probably know more than most kids going there. So I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to pay all kinds of money going there just for that now. But I'm definitely looking forward to that. So this is just quick video, whatever. If anyone has ever read this book, if you can recommend other books or other avenues to learn about it, I would be very, very grateful. I mean, I watch YouTube and I watch some of the guys, but I feel like some of them are too advanced. When they're talking to other experts. They're not talking to me. That's literally what I feel like. Most of them who are really in the know. I'm not talking about those people who just do a lot of editing. You can tell they are doing a lot of editing and going on all kinds of websites and taking the information and making a video and making it seem like they know. I'm not talking about those, because that I can read through them. But the one who do know, and I don't want to mention them, there's few of them, very few, a handful or less, who do know their stuff. Basically, in my opinion, whatever they doing is man. 80% of the people who watch them probably don't even know what they're talking about. I mean, but they just watch them anyway. Um, like I said, if there is anybody out there, and I would just encourage, this is a capitalistic society, and people are not very fond of giving free information. I know that about the United States of America. It is what it is. Scanner Dan are doing his thing, and I'm not sure if I'm going to learn much from this class. Maybe I will buy his book and see what it's about, and if it's interesting enough, maybe I'll even take some of his classes and see what happens. But yeah, that's where I'm at right now in the quest for knowledge, so I can take my business to the next level. I want to do basically light work, like diagnosing cars, flashing, maybe even doing locksmith, those type of work where, are still pretty handy, but not taxing on the body like, turning wrenches. So, yeah, waiting for anybody's feedback. If you're interested in the video, you can, like, subscribe if you want. Like I said, I'm not doing this for any type of money. It doesn't matter to me. YouTube gave me everything I know about cars, so whatever I can give back, that's what it is. All right, peace, and catch you till next time.